interns, and it's very clear because I joined on Google Meets first, and Jeremy had to come and save us and say, sorry, the meeting's not on Google Meets. Join us on Jitsi. So yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Awesome.
I'm the aforementioned Jeremy. Was an intern at Cartoza, and then I work at Cartoza with everyone. I'm just here to kind of see maps and see what everyone's doing. I'm really interested to see like Ellie's creative process behind his Bob Ross stuff. That was cool to see.
Cool.
How are you, everyone? I'm Ashley Manyanya. I am an intern at Cartoza, so I'm here to see how maps are created and learn and how to create them and then create them. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm just going to open the session quickly. Hello, everybody. So welcome to the start of the year mapping party. What we're going to do in this event is basically open up QGIS and make a map, make a style. I'm looking at making some really funky symbols out of just using the styling panel, etc., the layer styling panel. So that is the plan. We have a lot of great people in the room, some more experienced QGIS users, some brand new QGIS users. And what we're all going to do is open QGIS, be making a project of some description. And from there, we will share our screens at different points and have a look at the different maps we are each making and explain some of the steps that we took to make those maps. So if you'd like to join in the party, I encourage you to go to the live chat. There is a Jitsi meeting link there. Please join the room, unmute yourself, chat on the microphone, chat to the group, and show us what you can make on QGIS. So we were just having a little bit of an introduction to see who was all in the room. And then we're going to continue into some real map making. Alrighty, I think the only people we didn't hear from were Thiasha and Victoria. So Thiasha, can you just tell us your where you're from and your intentions for the session, what you're going to make? You are muted, just so you know. Alrighty, if you're having some sound issues, let's pop on to Victoria. Do you have any plans for this session for making a map?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Victoria. I'm from Nairobi and I work at Cartoza. I actually got the QGIS map design book by Anita recently, so I'm going to try replicate one of the chapters and see how far I can go.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'm going to come and check in quite a lot with you because that's fantastic. Do you mind opening your screen and just showing what book you are talking about by Anita?
Oh, it's like on a different...
I'm sorry, I'm putting
it's
you
on
on
a
the spot.
tablet, so it's good. Yeah, it's... How do I get it up here? Okay, just 1 second.
Alrighty.
Okay. So sharing my screen.
Also, please don't hesitate to chat in the live chat on YouTube if you have any comments. I will read those out and we will have some fun looking at those. Alrighty, I can see your screen, Vicky.
Can you see there's a book open? Can you see it?
No.
We can see the Jitsi meet.
Let me try that again.
That's all right. We can continue for now. I'll share my screen and open QGIS and start with my harebrained idea. And then everyone else can start. And then I think after me, I will go to Eli. And then we can all just share our screen with whoever's come next with the map. Right, let me share my screen quick. righty. Yell if you can see me.
You're up.
Great stuff. Alrighty. So I think often with QGIS and GIS in general, we get a little bit bogged down in the really technical details of stuff. And QGIS is such a powerful program, really. I mean, it's great for GIS, but it's also great for those people who are a little creative and want to make a whole bunch of different cool things that make cartographic sense and using the tools in GIS, but also to have a bit of creative fun. And that's one of the things I really wanted to cover today, was actually getting really creative, making different symbols. So my goal for today, this morning I was playing around and I decided that I would make some symbols just using different symbol layers and the different renderers available to me that looked like eyeballs. So if I zoom out, you'll see I have little eyeballs on my map of the park down the road from me. And if you zoom in, I'm trying to make them look as realistic as possible. So I have a whole bunch. If you look and I scroll in my layer styling panel here, I have a whole bunch of different layer styling layers, and I have made this eyeball. So for this session, what I'm going to do is I would like to make point layers that look like pizzas using this same workflow, just using the different renderers available to me, all the different sort of options in the layer styling panel. I'm going to try as best I can to not use SVGs. I know that I could go and grab an SVG of a pizza and throw it onto the map. But for the point of this exercise, I really wanted to try make these different little points, the different styles, and try and make them look as realistic as possible. So that is my goal for the session. And I think, let me just duplicate this layer quickly so that I have some points to work with. Let's put this layer, the second layer, the copy layer on. I'm just going to delete whatever I had there so that I can start fresh with a bunch of new ideas on how I want to create this point layer. So this is a point layer I just made myself. I zoomed into an area where I'd seen some birds and popped onto the map where those birds were. I digitized those, and I wanted to be able to make these point layers. So can everyone still hear me? I feel like I'm talking to myself.
No, yes, I can. So here.
Awesome. Great stuff.
So I keep forgetting I'm muted and I respond and then can't hear what I'm responding.
All right. So currently I still have this random ball here that we don't need. So let's put in a no symbol and a single symbol. And now we've just got a random symbol at a point that is made automatically by QGIS for me. I want to take this random point and make it look as realistically like a pizza using different symbol layers, different effects, different drawing effects. And the first thing I'm going to do is make a basis for my pizza. So I have a simple marker, and what I actually want is a filled marker so that I can make a base for this. I prefer to use map units just because it then when I scale the map, it tends to scale a bit more nicely. That's a personal preference. If you know what scale you want to make your map at, you can, of course, just use millimeters or points if you want to. So that is just a personal preference for when I'm working. If you want to comment on that, please feel free to. If there's a quicker, easier way, let me know. So now I've got this filled marker. It currently just has a simple fill. So I'm going to go down here to all my sort of symbol types, and I want to actually give it a shape burst fill. And that, it's actually quite tiny. Let's make this marker a lot larger so that we can actually see exactly what I'm making. So let's like quadruple the size. There we go. So that is my shape burst fill. I actually want to add a color ramp to that. And I want to make a color ramp that makes sense for a pizza. Please excuse my random background there. That's what my brain looks like inside. All right. So the darker end of us is, of course, going to be the outside of the pizza, which I actually want to be like a yellow color, maybe yellowy orange. Dough is not usually like yellow. I'm going to put
tan color normally, isn't it?
Pardon?
It can be like a tan color depending on how you cooked it. Make it slightly more brown, maybe. So if you take the color towards orange and then slide it towards the black corner, you can get a more like brown, tan, beige color that should like that, and then move your dot. Yeah.
There we go. So I'm thinking of the cheese as being quite a yellowy cheese. Alrighty. Okay. So I'm going to add a point in the middle here just by clicking on the gradient view here, because of course, at some point in this view, I want there to be tomato sauce between the crust, which is this tan color, and the cheese, which is this bright yellow color. So I'm going to take that dot and I'm going to say, okay, well, I want it to actually be like reddish so that we have that view from going from tan to going all the way through to the really nice cheese color. Although what I do want is for, you know, the tan of the outside and the red of the sauce to be closer to one side, and of course the cheese the other. So let's see how that looks. Not quite what I want. So I'm going to have to play around with this color ramp to get it, you know, to be completely correct as to how I want it to look. I might actually make it non-continuous. I might make it a discrete color ramp. Let's go.
Volcano or lava.
It currently looks like a lava volcano. Thanks, Yabuwe. I think, yeah, I'm not winning on the pizza front. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue making this background and playing with this color ramp until I'm happy with the background of my pizza. So for now, let's jump to someone else. Eli, maybe we can jump to you and you can show the absolutely amazing artwork that you made using QGIS. Now, this, of course, isn't based on a map, but it is using QGIS, and it's a really great exercise to teach people how to style data. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and pass over to you, Eli, while I play and get my pizza correct. Alrighty. Eli, can you hear me?
Sorry, Amy. Struggling with a bit of a spotty connection. Just got back now.
No trouble.
Right.
I was just saying I'm handing over to you to have a look at the beautiful artwork you created.
All right. Let me see. Let's share my screen real quick here. Just yell if you guys can see that.
Yes.
All right. So with our QGIS interns, they usually go through a process where we ask them to create a Bob Ross artwork. And this was my submission when I was still an intern. And I thought I'd just, like to go through some of the ways that I created some of these things. I think one of the most important things I want to touch on real quickly that came in extremely handy while creating this was I found this toolbar, which is the Advanced Digitizing Toolbar. So if you go into, is it View, Toolbars, and then you activate the Advanced Digitizing Toolbar, you'll see when you edit your layer, you've got all of these different options that also enable you to edit your polygons, basically. So it's nothing fancy, but what this allows you to do is to copy and paste, move, resize, and reshape or rotate some of your features on your map. So this came in quite handy for me when I was creating the tree line here at the back that you can see. all just the very same trees that I copied and pasted over and over again. Just makes the work quicker, easier, and more fun, you know. So other than that, this is quite an easy task. It looks quite good, but it's quite easy to recreate this yourself. I know, Jeremy, you would like to know about some of the features here. The only real ones that I used was gradient fills, random marker fills, and raster image fills. So basically what we can do is I can give you a quick preview. With the walkway over here, which is this one right here in front, I used, bless you.
Sorry, I thought it was muted.
I used a raster image fill. So what I went online, I looked for a seamless sand texture, and when you add it into your image fill, you apply it. It basically creates yourself this little sand-like texture that you can see just on the gravel here, which I think, in my personal opinion, looks quite good. You know, other than that, the grass was all made with random marker fills. Let's see if I can preview a quick one here for you. There's so many layers there. Let's try this one. Simple marker. All right, so you can see right here with the layer styling, if you can just go, you can select a random marker fill, select a marker from the very extensive list. If you just go to, you can toggle your favorites, colors right here with your marker, and you can choose your marker. I basically just went with one of these little lines, third arc line, but you're free to really just use anything that you can find on here. And when you go through with your marker, you can select the size of your marker and also the amount that you would like to put into your project. So if we take that amount down to like 9, you'll see it makes a significant difference somewhere on my map right here, you can see. So that's what I used to create grass. The same exact principle was used to create the tree leaves, and even the highlights on the trees was just layering another polygon on top of that. The only other one that I think would be really nice to just see would be the mist. For people, let's just turn off everything in front of the mist. It's going to be quite easier to see.
I can really see that you sort of turned on a Bob Ross YouTube video, which I know we all watch guiltily as ASMR. Well, at least I do. It's very relaxing. You turned on a Bob Ross and you really followed, you know,
guiltily.
You followed each of the steps. You know, he will open and make a painting with, you know, putting in the backgrounds and then adding in the mountains, then adding in the mist. And I can really see that process here, but you've done it in QGIS, which is amazing.
Definitely, you know, everything right here was just layering one thing on top of the other, like the background. And then I started with the mountain. I did lots of different colors on the mountain, you can see as you go through. And it was roundabout with the mountainside where I spent about a day recreating the mountainside before I found the advanced digitizing toolbar, which really makes your life a lot easier. You know, but this one is a nice one for the mist. It was also just a plain polygon. I put 2 polygons on top of each other here. And for the styling, I just added some draw effects. Let's go there, draw effects with an outer glow. So we can change it to like inner glow. You'll see it severely changes everything here. You are able to see basically the 2 polygons that I created there, just to create the mist. So it's real nice, you know, if you go around looking at features, playing around. I don't think you can really break QGIS with styling, but you'll find lots of interesting little things that you can do and change up and just create something fantastic. And I don't particularly think that my Bob Ross is anything good. I think I can do a lot better. But according to Amy, you guys, it's fantastic. So
It's really, really
I-
great. I think it's amazing.
I love it.
thank you guys. I think
Awesome. Thanks.
we'll do a bit more on that a bit later. But no,
Brilliant
different day.
stuff.
All right.
All right. Abby, are you making a map, and would you like to share with us what you're making?
Well, let me share my screen quickly. Let me know if you can see it.
Will do.
Okay.
I always feel like I should have elevator music in the background for this. There we go. I can see.
Cool. So I just want to go simple with this. So I decided to grab some, what's this, water area data, rivers, land use, buildings, and roads. So basically, instead of having, what's this, using your rule-based symbology and stuff to separate, saying that this is what a dam and whatnot, I just want to give all water bodies like a blue color, rivers blue color, land use, probably give it a green color as well. Roads give it a grayish color so that I can have a gray background. That's the aim. So that basically kind of to create a simple map, but a map that shows that, okay, this is like the Cape Town area, you can see rivers and stuff, but yeah, with South Africa, we don't necessarily have enough data because clearly we know that there's more info here. So yeah, hopefully by the end of the session, you'll see what I actually have in mind. So basically just taking different features, giving them simple colors and getting a nice map.
Awesome. And did you grab this data using QuickOSM? Where
Yeah,
did you get this?
QuickOSM is like always my first go-to friend before editing, and then from there, if I don't get like the data that I need, that I can go to other sources. But like QuickOSM is like my first go-to friend before anything else. So yeah,
Awesome.
that's me. Hopefully my final product will be nicer than what we see here.
No, it's brilliant stuff. I think that's awesome. All right, Thiasha or anyone else in the room, are you mapping, and would you like to show it to us?
I'm not really mapping at the moment. I'm creating templates, so my maps are very basic at the moment. It's more about the layout. So I don't really.
Would you like to show us a couple of steps in the layout? Because I think people who have then created this beautiful map often fall down in the layout part of things. It can be quite a process to get a layout that's really appealing to the viewer, and there are some different little techniques that we can use. So are you happy to show us how you set up your templates and layout?
Of course.
Awesome.
Just let me know when you can see my screen.
I have finally gotten the gradient right, and it's starting to look like a pizza. So we're going to circle back to that.
Okay, cool. No longer the volcano.
No.
So this is the text-heavy map layout. I've done like 160 variations of these layouts, so I have them coming out of my ears. But this is the general layout that was approved. Yeah, so it used to have a round inset map, but for the purpose, like I like the way that it looks, but for the purpose of the layout, it was just a bit confusing for other users. My favorite trick that actually Jeremy taught me to make sure that everything's perfectly aligned is to drag out these little red, no, it's not working now, these little red line things so that you can see how everything lines up. So yeah, that was my favorite little layout trick that I learned. Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's very, very cool. Awesome. I see that you're working for HOT. That's an OSM. If you are new to the open source world, of course, we are interested in QGIS and we often use QGIS. But of course, GIS is an ecosystem and especially open source software. So OSM, which is OpenStreetMap, and especially HOT OSM, which is the humanities sort of side of OSM, these are great areas to get data from and to contribute data to. As Siabiwe said in the previous, when she was sharing her screen, that there isn't that much data captured, in Cape Town. And Polly, who comes from a more rural town in Limpopo, there were no buildings captured there. So I really encourage you to go and contribute to the OpenStreetMap project, especially in countries that are not well documented, like a lot of African countries and areas in the global south. So please feel free, open OSM, get digitizing, and contribute to those projects. I don't know, Thiesha, if you had anything else to say. Otherwise, we'll circle out.
That was all for me. Sorry, I muted myself because my dogs are going crazy all of a sudden. So
brilliant stuff. Any other takers for now, or shall we circle back to making this pizza?
I can show you my harebrained scheme, which I don't know if I'll pull off in half an hour-ish, but
we love a harebrained scheme. Let's see it.
So I've been staring at this map for most of my life. This picture's not great. I went and grabbed it just before the session started. But it's got this weird projection, and the styling is what really interests me. It's not going to show up great because it just was a phone camera. I've got the actual thing in front of me. But it's got so it's a shape burst tool, but it's reversed, and it's all like these Latin maps. But the projection's also, so sorry for the reflection, it's quite bright. But it's also, this projection is really interesting to me because you can see this is an old map, might have been a fake map, but I've just been staring at it for a lot of my life. So you can see how big Antarctica and stuff is. So my harebrained scheme is to try to replicate this side of the map. You can see Africa going up into Europe, Asia. Obviously, Antarctica will not be that size on my map. But so far, what I'm doing is I'm playing around with a custom coordinate system.
Can you show us a bit on how to make that custom coordinate system?
Google. Uncle Google is very important.
All right, well, show us the coordinate system in the CRS manager.
So essentially what you do though is you go up to settings, go to custom projections, and then I've got some that I was playing around with for other stuff. But so what I've done here is I've used a proj4 string. It's a legacy thing. I don't know how to write well-known text with WKT, so I use proj4. What I've got is it's an orthographic projection, which gives you that nice round effect. Then I've got my lat 0 is equal to 0, my lon 0 is equal to 0. Those are the origins for my actual projection system. Oop, that's not going to work. So what you can see, what that means is that centers around coordinate 0, 0, or Null Island, which is just off the coast of Africa here in the corner. So that's there. And then, so what you can do if you want to play around with those, you can play around with changing your lat 0 and that. So for instance, if I take my lat 0 and make it, let's go 20 and negative 24. Obviously, north positive, east positive, south and west negative. For those of you who don't know coordinate reference systems, things like that. I still need to do more research about X0 and Y0. Obviously, Google better than you. This R is the radius of the orb you're mapping. Units, I've set it to meters. And then no defs is because I don't want any other definitions to do with my projection system. So you can see I've got 0, I've got my lat 0, my lon 0 is 20 and negative 24. So you'll see how that transforms my map. So you can see it rotates the whole map around. So negative is, so I've gone west and I've gone north because I've changed. So I went 20 degrees north, negative 24 degrees west, essentially. Or negative 24 degrees east, so 24 degrees west. So you can now see I've gone to my center around here. So that's not exactly where I want it to go. No, I don't want the star manager, damn it. So what I want to do there is I'm just going to change this. I want to play around a bit. You can see I'll rotate to... or I won't rotate. Right. Because I just messed with the wrong projection system. My bad. I ruined one of my other projection systems. Better go fix that. Okay. Let's make the 24. Okay. So now you can see I've rotated around this way, and I still want to go further up and like northish because I obviously this is my reference. I kind of want to center around here. So actually, I might be far enough north. I just got to keep heading east now. So I'm going to play around with that, and then obviously for the styling, I'm just going to do some shape burst fills, play around with gradients. And then I want this whole like line they have around the outside of the polygons is kind of what I really want to emulate. And then text-wise, I'll play around, see if I can emulate some cool things.
That's
I don't know if I'm
brilliant
going to
stuff.
finish this at all, but yeah.
And then, of course, in your layout, as we were speaking about with Thiasha, your grid lines, because I think one of the like really important aspects of that map that you've used as your point of reference is those sort of rounded lines.
Yeah, it's
So-
what really appeals to me is these like morphed lines here. So like I want to get like that concave look. So I might see if I can find another projection system because like you can see like go to this side, you can see it's got like this. It's almost as though you're inside the globe looking out. It gives you this cool like concave look. It doesn't look that it might be convex, but it looks concave to me. I don't know if that's the same case for everyone else. But it gives you like this really cool like so the equator is straight and then everything else is curved away from it, and it just
Well, this is awesome. I think that you should continue doing this, and perhaps we have a whole QGIS Open Day session on this because I think it's really interesting to play with CRSs like this and get these interesting effects. It helps you to understand how coordinate reference systems work and how powerful they are to make different maps and really have meaningful data. But I think it's just a fun way to do that.
That's how I started learning about them, was just playing around trying to make things.
Awesome. Alrighty. If you have any comments for us, we're just having a full-on party here. So in the YouTube chat, please feel free to add any comments. Alrighty, so I'm just circling back to my pizza, and then we'll pop away from my pizza and let the last few people show where they've gotten. So basically what I've done is you can see I've got a much nicer pizza look here. So I made a custom ramp. And then what I did was I added another 2 points in here. And you can see that as I drag this point around, it's going to give me more or less of the colors that I want. Knowing what the cross-section of the pizza is going to look like, I then dragged this one really close to the red, which is for the tomato sauce, to make this kind of ramp that looks like what I need it to look like. So that's how I made it. I added another color point here at the edge, which is a slightly darker tan. Jeremy, your thoughts about, things cooking more on the outside affected my brain. So that's what I decided to do there. So we've got this great custom ramp that I think makes it look like a pizza. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just jump to the marker here, and I'm going to add another simple marker. And what I want to do now is add the slices. And what I really like in the layer styling panel here, if you go down, these are relatively new. Some of these were only added in, 3.26 or whatever. So we're just going to add this X. You can see I quite like that X, but I'm going to make it quite a lot larger, so that it spans the width of the pizza. Again, I was working in map units, so I'm going to make these in map units so everything makes more sense. Alrighty, so let's make the size similar to the pizza. Woo. No, just 20. That was a lot. And then, of course, it looks a bit odd, just that really dark color. If you cut a pizza, you don't really get that. So I'm just going to use the darkest color from my color ramp. So you can see that the colors I have chosen for the project are automatically in your recent colors. That really helps with color theory in a map. If you're making a map where you want everything to be super cohesive, then reusing the colors again and again makes a lot of sense as cartographers. I don't know if any of the cartographers in the room agree with me, but that's my own soapbox. All right, so we have our first set sort of slice of the pizza. I would like a few more slices, so I'm going to do exactly the same thing and add this.
You can just duplicate the layer, Amy.
but I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to.
But if you duplicate and rotate, it gives you the same effect.
Yeah, but I'm just making it again and rotating it. Anyway, so what we're going to do here is we then, of course, are going to rotate this by, 45 degrees to make our pizza slices make a bit more sense. Oh, wait, I'm rotating the one I already made. Jeremy, you working? Are you messing with my flow? It's totally okay. Yeah, probably duplicating would make my life a lot easier, but I'm not feeling it. So let's just quickly repeat, because repeating things helps us learn. And we're going to pop that in and make that a 20. And there are all of our slices of pizza. I think that's looking very pizza-esque. And so the last thing I'm going to add as the sort of toppings, I'd like to add some circles, randomly fill a area with circles that can be our pepperoni. But one of the things I do want to add is just a shadow so that it looks a little bit 3D against the map. Right now, you can't really see that it's a point. It could be part of the background. So I'm going to go to our filled marker here. I'm going to add a draw effect to it. In our draw effects, what we're going to do is we're going to add just a drop shadow to it. Currently, I am totally happy with that. I think that's a totally fine drop shadow. And it just brings the symbol off the map a little bit, that you can see immediately, okay, this is a symbol representing something and not actually part of the background. So it's really useful to just use the draw effects to do those things. You could also use an outer glow, I suppose, if you wanted to, but then I think it would look like the pizza's hovering and not just like, over the area. So the last thing I'm going to be doing is adding those randomly generated pieces of pepperoni all over the pizza. So for now, let's jump off of my map. Hopefully you can see kind of how I'm building up the symbol layers here and how I can, chop and change them around. If you are an absolute beginner to QGIS, this little panel here with your up-down symbols will change, where your symbols appear. Now you can't see one of the slices because it's at the bottom. So those are just a few things if you're an absolute beginner that you can follow with us. Alrighty, anyone else in the room keen to show their map that they're currently working on?
I have one, but now after seeing people's work, I'm realizing I have no idea where I got my ambition. I should have tried something else, but I'll walk you through why I thought of this. It's a bit silly.
Full said, no regrets.
No, this is a party. We're just having fun. Alrighty, go for it, Luna. Share your screen and show us what's happening.
All right, I'm guessing you can see my screen. Thumbs up.
Who put the elevator music? And I love it.
Jeremy.
Yes, you did.
Jeremy.
Jeremy.
I've had that queued for so long now.
So I got my inspiration after seeing this thing in agriculture is called the pivot. And so it reminded me of Pac-Man. And I thought Pac-Man is important because of the fact that we are dealing with direction. Direction is one of the most important parts of the game. So I tried to imitate that. So first I created a region of interest because the background of the game is black. And then I created my Pac-Man with the cherry that he tries to follow. And if you recall from here, there was a road there's road in this infrastructure. So I added a road and it's dotted because of the Pac-Man road once again. So it's almost an imitation of the game. And if you were playing it, it's almost as if, let's say you say, I would like a hint that has how to get to the cherry. And then I've added like an arrow to say directions that side. So it's more just to play around with the game Pac-Man.
I think that's brilliant. This is, one of the things that we've been talking about quite a lot, especially with our new, thanks to Bwin and Jeremy, we'll see you around. They both have to leave the party. Is, being creative and using these things in QGIS. You don't always have to be making a map, you don't have to be always doing a technical exercise. You can play around and still learn about symbol layers, still learn about color theory, etc., which are all important aspects to cartography. So I think this is awesome, Luna. I really like it, and I'm keen to see where you get to.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Anyone else in the room got a cool map to show us?
Sure. I finally figured out how to share my screen. For some
Go
reason,
for it, Vicky.
Brave wasn't allowing me to, just could only allow me to share the tab. So, entire screen. Sure.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
so for the book, this is a book, QGIS Map Design. So I got the PDF version because it's easier for me to take anywhere. So what I'm attempting
And this, of course,
is
is from Locate Press. So if you would
Yes.
like this book, it is a sensational book, really. Anita Grasser and Gretchen really put a lot of effort into making it a bit bulletproof, that it can be used with any version of QGIS. And it shows you some really great ways to style different layers, to use the layer styling panel, which is what this whole party has been about. So yeah, go to Locate Press, buy the book, look through it. It's an absolutely amazing read for any GIS technician or cartographer. Continue. Shameless plug. Continue, Victoria.
You did better than I could. That's great. So what I started off is just simple, the first chapter, layer styling, applying graduated symbols. And the great thing is Anita also provides the data sets she uses, so it's pretty easy to follow along. And what I've managed to, I think I've done like maybe 5 pages, is come up. I think this is really pretty and very simple. So this is a population map for the world using natural earth data. And the thing I really liked when I was following the book is this small detail that I've never really noticed, is where you can actually view the history of the styling you've made. So when you lose a style and you now panicking on how I'm going to have to recreate everything again, just go back a couple of steps. Like I was doing the red styling. Also far up back was when I started out with just a simple outline. So that's really been my aha moment in this thing. We also have, so what it uses is just very simple styling for the layers. So the first polygon layer is just creating a simple background using the fill style. So you have the fill color, and now you just have to remove the outlines, or not necessarily remove, but just make them a more blending color, which is white. And it's very specific on which colors to use, because we usually say green or yellow, but specific RGB values, so it's very precise. And for the population, which is very interesting, was how to use the breaks when you have population data. So you've got all these options. The pretty breaks give a nice sort of like a pretty style, and use of the opacity feature. Oh, and actually she mentions in the book that you've got to be very careful on how you use it, because if you use this one right under your symbols, it only changes the value, if you'll notice, for the fill color. But if you use the one here in the symbol settings, now that changes both the fill and the outline. So you get a pretty uniform change in your opacity. So that's where I'm at so far.
Alrighty, that's actually fantastic. I think that's just, it really is a great, are these the colors that are suggested in the book, or is it a color theme you came up with?
Actually, she suggests them, so like it's very specific, the entire thing. You have to use like she specifies for the white, you have to put 255 for both the R, the G, and the B values. Like, where's that? Here. So you have, it's very specific colors and they're very nice.
That's really nice to know, because I mean, of course, when you're making a map or making details for a company or someone that has a specific branding guideline, you can go and add those very sort of specific things and not just use a scroller. You can just go in here and add in that specific and exacting color. So awesome. This looks amazing, Victoria. I'm itching to go and get this book. Alrighty. Anyone else in the room have a map that they would like to show to us? We have about 5 more minutes. Alrighty. If not, then we are just going to pop back to my screen. Let me share. Let me know if you can see my shared screen. I'm assuming that's a yes.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So what I've now done on our little pizza here is I have created a filled marker. Within that filled marker, I filled it with a point pattern fill. And I've used a simple marker of a round red area to make our pepperonis that are on the pizza. Currently, I think they're actually too many and they're too small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the actual simple marker slightly larger. That's kind of the size of pepperoni I'd like. That's generous. Then what I'm going to do here is in the point pattern fill, you can see that my distance between them is quite small. It is in millimeters. I would have changed it to units, but I don't have the time. So I'm going to actually increase this to a larger size. Maybe make it 6. And I think that is a slightly better number of the pepperonis per slice. Then what I did was I randomized the point pattern fill, because obviously people just throw pepperoni on a pizza. It's not a set pattern. So if I didn't randomize it, of course our pizza would look like a robot made it. So we want our pizza to look very human, and we're going to add some randomization in here. So I'm going to randomize it horizontally by a number and vertically by a number until I'm relatively happy with how the set of pepperonis look. Oh, I quite like that. So now I've got all my pepperonis. They're randomly aligned on our pizza. We have a really nice draw effect, and I will spend some more time, because currently I would like the pepperonis to have a little bit more texture to them, but I don't want to make that texture using a SVG fill or a raster fill. What I'm going to try and do to finalize our little pizza point is actually use specific draw effects to make our pepperonis more textured and make this pizza look a little bit more real. But yeah, so in the space of about 15 minutes, what we've done here is made a unique custom point symbol. We've made it using several symbol layers. Of course, you can see that there are a lot involved in making this. And yes, probably grabbing an SVG would be easier, but I like to be able to understand exactly how all the aspects of layer styling can work in QGIS. So this is going to be the end of my little segment. I'm quite happy that I have made my pizza. I'm going to continue playing on my eyeball. I'd like to add some veins, etc. Perhaps using some of the information from Draw's previous session, using the geometry generator and making some wiggly lines. I'll add some veins into these and see how really lifelike I can make these in QGIS. So I've just had an absolute blast making really cool symbols, just using the symbol, the styling panel. And thanks everyone for following along with us. I don't know if anyone else in the room would like to say anything or just say thanks and chat. Alrighty, I see we do have a comment in the live chat from Carrington. Struggling to successfully configure QGIS FMV plugin in Ubuntu 22.04. Victoria, have you come across that at any point? I mean, my go-to would just be uninstall and reinstall QGIS and see if there's any fix. And if it is a larger issue, then contact the community who made the plugin. What would your advice be? We only have 3 minutes for advice, so I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of it. Or, of course, you can just ask on the QGIS Telegram channel or the Revolt group. There are a lot of people who are a lot more intelligent than I am in terms of plugins and how QGIS, configures on different systems. Of course, I am on Ubuntu like you are. And then just ask there. People are always willing to help in the community, so please feel free to do so. All right. If there are no further comments, or Luna, Ashley, Eli, would you like to show your final maps? Eli, you are muted. Just remember, it automatically mutes you.
Can you hear me now, Amy?
Yes.
All right, sorry. Just repeat your question real quick.
Sure. No, I wanted to say, do you want to show your final map before we close off the session?
No, I actually just stuck around to see your eyeball.
That was, I made the eyeball using a very similar workflow to the pizza. It's just several different sized round symbols with different draw effects and different shape burst fills. So if you want to go ahead and make an eyeball, please feel free to do so. All right, so that brings us to the end of the session. Please do not miss the session at the end of the day with Hans van der Kwast. His MSc students are going to be joining us and presenting their final maps, their hydrology maps for their end of year projects. And we are privileged enough to be able to comment on those, give any kind of constructive feedback on those maps. And I'm really excited for the session. So don't miss that one. And thank you everyone for joining us. Bye.
Cheers, bye.
Before you leave, can anyone view them?
Second.